Yes, Yehud, I'm on?
Yeah.
Okay. A good day of Shabbos. Obviously, it's a very tragic one. And I just want to recommend, I don't know how to say Tillim on Zoom, so I just thought everyone should say 5 kapitlach. I'll tell you what they are after, by yourselves, and then say Achenu L'Chavei Yisrael. The 5 kapitlach, kapitel Chof, Mem Aleph, Kuf Gimel, Kuf Lamed, and Kuf Mem Beis. Those are the 5, and then you say Achenu L'Chavei Yisrael. Yeah. The interesting then, here's the thing there. Funny din by Kohen Gadol. It says by the end of the din that Isha b'psuleo yikach, v'hu Isha b'psuleo yikach, was a good gimel, and the Isha b'psuleo yikach, the Gemara darshans is either a girl 12 to naira or katana. Either way, they're young kids, under 12, under 13 then. How old's a Kohen Gadol? Obviously, you can be you can become one of the bar mitzvah, but I'm just saying in reality, how old is going to be a Kohen Gadol? Someone's going to have, Kohen Gadol has to be the biggest in 5 things. To be the biggest Talmud Chacham, so you got to be, figure, 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old. Okay, it's a strange din, but that's the din. Okay. But it can't be the din, because we have a din, Mansfei Solovis Hatzmeya, the Gemara says, includes 3 different averos. One of them is to marry an old man to a young girl. So if it's an Isser, by the fact that to marry off an old man to a young girl, how could be a mitzvah by a Kohen Gadol? And you can say, well, it's a rare thing, a Kohen Gadol don't have a wife, he has a wife from before, whatever it is, that's emes, he has a wife from before, hopefully, except that the din is a Kohen Gadol must have a wife on Yom Kippurim. So if he doesn't have one, he became an almon, it doesn't make a difference, he has to be married right away. And Meir holds you even mechuyev to marry, even if you have a wife, to have a second wife, because in case one may die. That's an Emor, just that they krieg on him because in Cain ended up a safe, because maybe 2 will die, and 3 will die, and 4 will die. So all of us, you don't have to do it. But whatever it is, but there's a certain amount of thing that you may have to get married. And yet, then when you get married, it has to be dafka a girl between 12 and 12 and a half, which the chayre doesn't make any sense. You should get. But Nemesis, I think it's to show the keches v'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A Kohen Gadol has to be, and the same thing applies with a Melech of a Gans Klal Yisrael. Has to be bigger than everybody in 5 things. Have to be the tallest, the smartest, the handsomest, the strongest, and the richest. And if you're not, then you can't be Kohen Gadol, you can't be king. So money is the easiest one, the Gemara says. That the Echav HaKoyanim will chip in, and they'll give them enough money, they'll become the richest. Okay. I don't know how they're going to work out who's going to give the most, but whatever it is, but that's something that they can all work out. But how do you get the other 4 things? I mean, how's a guy that's 5'10" going to become 6'6"? and assuming it's not just tall, you have to become that the body fits. That means because it has to be the handsomest. How can you be? It's all the wrinkles are there already and everything else. So you see from here that what the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to do, and it's not even considered a nest. We'll talk about it in a minute. There's a thing called we all grow because of a pituitary gland that fills us out, whatever it is there. There are diseases, unfortunately, that people get. The activates itself again in the later years, and when it does that, it makes grotesque the facial features, the body features, because the bones start to grow, and they don't grow in the normal way, and it doesn't go good. And if the pituitary gland doesn't stop around 20 or something, the person keeps growing. And I remember reading about a Chinaman that was over 8.5 feet, that he couldn't even stand because the feet couldn't support him, and then he couldn't get up. And then in what do you call it, in China, because the pituitary gland didn't stop growing. I think that the Torah is trying to tell us that the Kohen Gadol becomes a young man. The keich is not a big deal. The Rebbeinu gives him the keich. The height, we said, and the what do you call that obviously has to happen. So the Rebbeinu made it that it happens. And obviously when it grows, the bones, they're going to go into become that he's going to be very handsome, whatever that means, since everything's to somebody else. But there must be universal, or it'll be like Esther, that whoever looks at him will think that he's one of hers and one of them, and that she's Meishachen by everybody, even though she was Yirakleikas. She was not necessarily a pretty girl. She didn't even have a nice complexion. But Lamaisa, she appeared to everybody as beautiful. That's the part. So who cares what the reality is? That's what he gives, what he appears, I assume. That's the whole point, that she's proud that this is the Kohen Gadol, this is the Melech. So the Torah is telling us, what's the problem of marrying an old man to a young woman? The keiches that they need for marriage are not equal. In other words, and that causes nus in the end. So here, the thing is that it is, if the Kohen Gadol can marry this young girl, because the Rebbeinu just made this nest. What I don't say it's not a nest, but there's this thing that happened to make him into this, and therefore he's able to do it. That's a keich b'Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's what the Torah is trying to teach us. That I give you, that's what the Ikar is, you should have the strength. You got the strength, halavai. Arichas Yom, the Rebbeinu is up to him too. But if not, it's not worse than any other person in the world. That you have a couple of good years and whatever it is, and then who knows what could happen. You have this even by David HaMelech. And it's interesting, Rashi uses a different, and I disagree a little bit with Rashi for the point that we just spoke about. What is with Rashi? Rashi talks about when David came to fight with Goliath. So Shaul HaMelech offered him his armor. Obviously, David HaMelech was not as tall as Shaul was. So because Shaul was higher than everybody by a head at least. So I don't know, David was considered a young kid at the time. Like, how do you do it? So he put his armor on David, and David saw that he was displeased about it, so he refused to take it, and he went out to fight Goliath without armor. Rashi says the reason he was displeased is because he saw that his armor shrunk, and it fit David, and therefore he became a little afraid. I don't see what the problem was. If it shrunk to fit David, then David is not the tallest guy in Klal Yisrael, so he can't be king. Elavos, David grew, and he grew into the armor. Now he's as big as Shaul HaMelech. Now he can be king, because now he became competitor to Shaul. That's the Parshas, the Emor, the Pasuk now. So I'm saying it's a little bit strange how Rashi says the other way, but I'm just saying that l'chayre it should be the other way. Yeah. After this, the Torah talks about a mum. A kohen with a mum, you can't do avodah. The first reaction is going to be from everybody, is this is, what do you call it, people, special needs people. They discriminate against them. They can't do avodah. Not fair. So I think it's first of all necessary to understand what a mum is, what perfection is. And a lot of people are puzzled who may be very nice looking people. Your nose has to be the same size as your pinky. And when your hands are stretched out, that's going to be your height. And this is, and also the spacing between the eyes and the all around the head are equal, 5 spaces. Here to the head, and there's nose in the eyes and the other eyes. All have to be equal. So that's first of all, to get such perfection, I don't know what you're going to get. But let's understand what the Rebbeinu Shem has done. He's made someone a mum that he can't go do avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, right? But he can still eat truma, he can still eat kachim, right? His children will be kahanim that can serve in the Beis HaMikdash. On the other hand, I'm a Yisrael. It's unfair. My children can never serve in the Beis HaMikdash, right? So what are you arguing about unfair to special needs? It's unfair to me. Right? The same thing applies for women's lib, right? What about Yisrael's lib? Did you ever think about how many aliyahs the Kohen gets? Or the Shevet Levi gets? They get 50% of all the aliyahs. And I think if you work it out with Hanukkah too, they're ahead of 50%. Okay, think about it every week. You get during the week, you have 3 times aliyahs where there's only 3 people, of which 6 of them go to the Shevet Levi, and 3 go to the Yisraelim. And on Shabbos, you got 7 aliyahs, of which 2 go to the Levi and 5 go to the Yisrael. You add them up, they're exactly equal. Mafta can go to anybody, so we're not talking about Mafta. So, it's unfair. Elavos, that's the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever that means, the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what he wants from me. I have to live up to my ability to be the best I can in the job that he gave me. And that's all it is. So he gave a kohen who has a mum, you can't do the avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. But you're still a kohen, you still can do other things. Do them, grow as far as you can. I kept you out of Beis HaMikdash for whatever reason I wanted to keep you out, because who made you a Baal Mum, not the Rebbeinu Shalom. So obviously I made you a Baal Mum because I didn't want you to do Avodah. But a Yisrael, I made him a Yisrael because I don't want anything from him. Right? So Elavos, that's not our job. Our job is not to make a cheshbon what we want. It's the cheshbon is what the Torah wants from us, what God wants from us. That's the most important thing to remember. See what it says. Oh, yeah. Talks about Tumah, something that Kohen, the responsibility of a Kohen, I don't know if we mentioned before, I think we may have, that a Kohen has a different lifestyle than a Yisrael. He probably has to live in 2 houses. Because if he wants to eat every night, then his wife, 50% of the time, well, maybe in time the Mikdash was only 25% of the time, is not with him. His daughters have to be out, sent away 25% of the time. Can't eat on the same table, can't sit on the chairs in the house. So how do you live? And you don't know what you touch. So it seems the Kehanim used to table every night. Because that's his man of what do you call it, Tzesek Yechoven for Krishma and Laila. So it says that when the Kehanim go to the table to eat their Truma at night. In other words, because I just came from the mikveh, I'm perfect. I said they used to keep a mikveh in their own house usually. I think I was in, got the name of the town, I think I mentioned last time. Yeah, that the mikvehs were in the house themselves. So you had the two houses. So here again, the tumah inaugurates the type of tumah that you can't be, and it's how common it is to have this tumah. And I can't even do mitzvahs. I can't do B'chever Kadisha, I can't do anything. Those things, and I can't touch any of those people. And still have tumah. There's no issue becoming tumah in the sense to a mess, I'm not allowed to become tumah. But to a guy who it's only a day's tumah, that seems to be okay. Then it says, funny din, that a kohen buys an eved, we're talking about an eved Kanani, an eved Ivri Kanani tumah. An eved Kanani, a goy, who I made into an eved, he has mitzvahs ki'isha, he's allowed to eat tumah. Yisrael has all the mitzvahs, he's not allowed to eat tumah. An eved who has a mitzvahs kinoshim, he's allowed to eat tumah. Why? So you can say, okay, we have Rachmanis on the Kehanim that, they have to have an Avodim, and if they had to feed them without Trumah, it would probably cost the money, where they can get the money, so we'll save the money. I don't think the Torah goes into care about the expense that it has to be to be able to eat and have to give a kohen an eved, not Trumah. But I understand that. But I want to claim that the reason they do it is for a bigger reason. An eved is really part of the family. What do you mean it's part of the family? For the Gemara has to bring as a Mishnah, it says that you don't sit shiva for an eved. Why should I sit shiva for an eved? It's not my relative. Right? And the reason you don't sit shiva for an eved is because you're so Russia. And Gamliel said shiva for Tevi Avdai. Why? Because it was kosher hoy. What do you got to do sit in shiva? He still was only an eved. Right? What has it got to do with you? So you see from here that an eved is really a member of the family. And in a way, the shifcha of Anisha knew all her secrets. That way she was in a way the alter ego of the woman. And the eved that came to a bacha, to a kid when he's born, and they give him an eved, becomes his friend, his best friend, and they grow up together and do everything together. And Pshat is there, he's a member of the family. The cook's been there for 50 years already. He's a member of the family. No such thing as, she just works here or she's a shifcha. They have the kabbalah mitzvahs ki'isha. What do you call it? I happen to have, I own them, that's true. But l'maaseh, they are still part of the family. And that's the point that's telling you, that they can eat because they are part of the family. You need truma. On the other hand, it says here, the bas kohen kisili zo, that she got married to Yisrael, so she can't eat kachim anymore, any truma anymore. Why? Because she's not a Kehanis anymore. What do you mean? Why do I lose my rights? Because I got married to Yisrael. So I lose my rights as a Kehanis. Yeah, you lose your rights. Even though we find Afkana supposedly collected Pidyon Ben, this was his wife. He also took Matonis because of his wife. So it seems that there is something that she maintains, that certain rights she has as a kehenis. And we see, Taki, that if she gives birth to a baby, so if he's a bechor, then there's no pidyon haben. So she still has some benefits of being a kohenis, as it's called. But she loses this union of the truma. And why I can't answer you, that's when Hashemayim, and then when Hashem is Geisler. About, we see that certain things she remains with and certain things she loses. And this step that she loses it. But what happens if she gets divorced? So, and she has no children, so then she can come home and eat truma from her father. This is not because she's a kehenis. This is because it shouldn't cost the father. The father should be able to take her in and take her back where she comes from because she has nothing anywhere else. And he has to feed her, he can feed her truma. But that's the thing, it's all because of her father that she can eat truma now, not because of herself. Before she left, it's because of herself. But after she came back, it's something. Now the reason for this is that she becomes the conduit of whatever shevet she marries. What do I mean by this? We're going to have this at the end of the Sedra, and we'll talk about this point at the end of the Sedra with the Bat Ben Ish Mitzri over there, and it'll be the same idea that we're going to talk over here. So we'll put that on hold for a minute. Yeah. This is the Parshas of Kriyas Yontef, really. We have it written in 2 days. The first 2 days of Pesukis, the second day of Shavuos, very cool. Last day, second day of Yontef, of Pesach. This is the Parshas of Kamanis. So it starts off like this: Vaydaber Shem Moshe Emor, Daber Bnei Yisrael, and Moyadei Hashem Elamad Shetiku Oisam Moikoi Kodesh Elohim Yadois. He's talking about these are the Yom Tevim we're going to have in Klal Yisrael. Sheish Yom Tasim Alocha V'Yom Hashvi Shabbos Shabbos Mikukei Shalochem. And the Shabbos, you rest. That's Shabbos. That's not Yontif. So what do you mean Shabbos, not Yontif? Maybe it's Yontif. Anything Dalton? Why do you call it Shabbos? Because Shabbos is every week. It was from Bereshis. It has nothing to do about Hanhoge. It's basically about Bria. And you can say, okay, so then say maybe that's the reason it mentions it, because we talked two concepts of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One is the Moyadais, which is signs of Hanhagis HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that is a Manik Bailam. And then before that we talk about Shabbos, which shows it is the Bayrei Hailam. Okay, could be. It's good thoughts. The Goyens uses a very cute answer here. He says it's all talking about Yontif. It says 6 days you can't do. You can do work. What are the 6 days you can do work? 2 days you can't do. You can do work, meaning you can do work, Yontif type work that you can cook and these things, not to go work a regular day. And those are the 2 days of Pesach, 2 days of Sukkot, 1 day of Shavuos, and 1 day of Rosh Hashanah. So that's 6 days. And 1 day you can't do any work. That's Kodesh Kodashim. That's Yom Kippurim, and that's why this is the introduction to the Moyados. There are 6 days in the Moyados you can work, and 1 you can't. That's the thing. It's not talking about Shabbos at all. On the other hand, if we really want to talk about that, talking about Shabbos, I have an idea why it's going to be part of the Hanhage. Let's talk about Hanhage. I had a kasha myself, making Asher Yotza all the time, and it tells you that we all have a bunch of pipes running over our body. And if you close them up, you open them up, it's no good. What has that got to do with going to the bathroom? I understand that has to do with that needs pipes. But a lot of things need pipes. Eating also needs pipes. I don't make an Asher Yotza by eating. Right? So what's the point of saying, I went to the bathroom. So it was very important for the goof. If you don't go, it's not going to be very good. So obviously, you have to go. You should be thankful that you were able to go. So wonderful. So make a bracha. I don't know what the bracha should be, but you make a bracha on it. The Rambam, another kasha in a way, but I mean, the Rambam spends ideas. One of his ideas is that the Rebbeinu Shem does not create any nisim in the world. Everything was created in Sheishis Me'Bereshis. And therefore there was a condition, a Tanai in the Ma'aseh Bereshis that comes to Ma'aseh Kriyas Yamsuf, it's going to, the ocean is going to split. But that was in the Bria. It was not done at the time of the Bria, of the creation. I mean, what bothers the Rambam if it was or it wasn't? I mean, what's he trying to tell me in this thing? So I think this is pshat. There's a Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer that says that the Rebbeinu Shalom, when he created the world, left one corner empty in the north side, which the winds come from, whatever it is, or the winds come from all the sides, but from that particular side. And he said, anyone that claims he's God, let him go finish that side, and then he can blame God. So mashma that the ikar proof of God is the creation, more than the what do you call it, Hanhage. He said that's what he's trying to tell you. I created the world in a way that I have full control over it. In other words, I created a man with pipes in his body. I want him dead. I put a blood clot in his heart. I put cholesterol to stop the artery from going through. I want him paralyzed. I give him a mini stroke on this side, whatever it is. I want whatever it is that I can control him completely by the fact that I made him that way. That I can control him. He made the world. Right? How does he control the world? I want to make a tsunami now, and I want to do this now, and I want to do that now. And do I need a new creation of it? No. I made the plates under the continents, and they hit each other, however they do it, and all of a sudden you got a tsunami. I've got an earthquake. I want to get rid of an island. I bring out a, volcano. I want to get that thing there. I want to make an island. I come again with a volcano, like some of the other thing. I run the world by the way I made it. That's the pshat. I made the world in a way that I can control it. That's what we say, when the Rebbeinu Shalom has complete control over my body. He can do anything to me at any time. It's because he created me. He created me that way. When I give the bracha of an Asher Yotza, I could give it maybe when I eat also, but we specialize different brachas for different things that we eat, so therefore it's more. But here we gave one that you're thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom, or you're praising the Rebbeinu Shalom for making the body that he made in the beginning, that he has full control over it, and we understand that, and we give shvach v'hodoyah that we're still around, that he didn't kill us. and stuff like that. There's sometimes that we have to realize that biyodai, at any specific time to do it to us. So remember that when you come, this is Pashat thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for chiyus, for life, not just the thanking one to the bathroom. Then it comes out, and it's you have in the after the Korbanos, in the middle of it by Shavuos, right after it gives you the Korbanos of Shavuos, it tells you V'kutzchem siraltzachem l'sachal pasodcho. It's a din of matnas aniyim. Pei shikro. Pei shikro. Like a chikro pay. So you have three kinds of matnas aniyim, and that's an important thing over here. Okay, Rashi says why you put 3 on table before and 3 on table afterwards. I'm just going to read the Rashi for you because he's quoting the Sifri, but it's not what it says there. Omar Rav Avdimi b'Rab Yosef ma'roa kosuv litnim be'emtza regolim Pesach v'atzeres mikam Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim v'Chag mikan l'lamdoch shekol ha'noisen leket shikro peya la'oni kiroyu. The right way is olav le'ilu bona beis ha'mikdash v'hikriv olav korbanos b'toicha. He says if he built the beis ha'mikdash and gave korbanos. In the Sifri itself, it says a guy gave, maybe had a different gilsa in his Sifri that I can't answer, but the ones that we have says that ones who gives matnas aniyim is keilu a beis hamikdash is standing and he brought a korban. What's the difference between the two? What's going on? What do you mean it's got to do with a korban? I think when we spoke about Korbanos in the first Parshas Vayikra was that it's established in the Ikar point of an oila is to establish that the Rebbeinu Shalom runs the world, that everything is min Hashem. So that's a very important lesson. Any place I present that same lesson with a Maaseh, that is considered again like a korban. So let's see if you just let's see first of all what I'm talking about. So in Bab Metzia you have like this. In Aleph, I believe, it says over there that we learn Aymed B'tzad Tzodehu. We learn it from Shikra. In other words, if a person is standing by his field and he has workers packing up the packages, the bales, and they forget one, so then if he's standing by the field, it's not shikra. If he's in the city and he relied on his workers, then it's shikra. And the place where the poor person can take it, he can't take it back. I don't understand. Why do I need Tzadeu? It's my field. It's my package. It's not called forgotten because I remembered. So what difference? What's it got to do with the workers? What's it got to do if I'm standing by the field or not? It never was taken away from me. I mean, it's my stuff. I never forgot it. You see an interesting thing here. The field really, what grows in the field is really not yours. What you have is the ability to take first. But anything you leave over, that's not yours anymore. That comes along the ani. The aniyim come for that. So therefore, if you're standing there, I gave you the field as yours for kinyonim, so that much you can still exercise. Since it was not shikha, it wasn't forgotten, so it's really yours, but from the part that you took first. So it's yours. If you're not there, it's shikha, But you say, no, it's not, it's from my field, so what's it's your field? It's not, but it has nothing to do with you. You took yours already. This is left over. Let's see. You have even a bigger machlekes in Daf Yud. If an oni has daled amis in the sod of his friend, what do you mean? In other words, after you took your stuff, you left over payer, right? And they come pay and people come to cut it down, whatever they order, and it falls on the ground, other stuff in there. Are you kind of, is the guy kind of with his something and then his daled amis? Now you gotta understand, daled amis only works between the Rishus Harav. In the Shazam it doesn't work, and in the sod of his friend it don't work. Why? Because it belongs to him. So how can I say I have a Rishus for my daled amis in another guy's field? So why do we have even the shaila if an oni can have a damn daled amis in the other guy's field? It's the other guy's field. So what do you got to do with daled amis for you? Elevos, it's not the other guy's field. It's actually your field. It's the field of the Aniyim at this time. Once the Balabas took his first, now that the Aniyim have to come and take theirs, it's theirs. Now a field belongs only to Aniyim, there is like Tidur Shusarabim, so therefore it should be Din of daled amis. A guy who does this with this concept, that I believe that everything belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and by my giving the matnas Aniyim, Ki'ilu, I understand it, that you should know this is not mine anymore. This is theirs, and they can do it's their field at the moment. Whatever it is, if you have that Hagosha, then it's Ki'ilu Bona Beis HaMikdash, and Makriv Kabbalah V'Seicher. And that's what Rashi is saying, Karoyu, the right way. I go with the right Kavanas. What happens if I do it just like your matnas aniyim? So, what the matnas aniyim is supposed to bring this out, but I never thought about it really. My main thought was that I want to bring a matnas aniyim, and whatever it is. So that's Hilo Beis HaMikdash is I made, and you bring a korban. I brought an oila when the Beis HaMikdash is standing, and I don't know the difference of why I'm bringing an oila. I just want to bring a gift. Something to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't understand, because I'm makir that everything is his, and the only thing I have is because of him. So that's not necessarily karoyu. I just brought the korban. That's Kilo Beis HaMikdash standing, and you brought a korban, and that's it. So it makes an ishin cherech nechoyach. The fact that the fire came down originally before we brought korbanos, before anything came on his mizbeach, and the fire is always there. So it vibes that everything is an isherech nechoyach, even though you didn't have the right kavanah, even if you didn't have any kavanah, then it comes to the same thing. Vibes. It matters anim. I gave it. I didn't have the right kavanah, but I gave it. I did what I was supposed to do. So because you're supposed to do, then it's a Kilo Beis HaMikdash standing, and you brought a korban, There are only two mitzvahs that we have to know the reasoning when you do the mitzvah. The mitzvah of tefillin, your heart, mind, everything that goes to everything. The mentions hakol yochel. That's what you have to know. And machshavas is supposed to be everything uncontrolled by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The second one is sukkah. The reason you're making a sukkah is because I want you to know we had sukkahs in the midbar. There happens to be machlekes in the Gemara between what the sukkahs mean, the anani hakovid or sukkahs mamish. Here, it says only one pshat, anani hakovid. Rashi brings that down, Targum says that. And not choishes for this fall of sukkahs mamish. Because sukkahs mamish is also the same reason as the anani hakovid. What do we say with a sukkah? It's a flimsy house. It has no body to it, really. It has no roof even to it. So I'm not really protected. I'm hefker in the world. If anyone wants to break down, it's very easy to get into my sukkah. Through the top for sure. You can say I made it middle of my dining room, so therefore you can't get in through the walls, but you can get through the top. So in other words, you can get in through the top. Anyone can get into me. I have no protection, not against the world, not against people. So what am I doing? I'm relying on God. That's what I'm doing. I'm relying on the Reuven Shalom. Now I'm not talking about Mokum Sakona, where people will kill you at night if you saw you in the thing there that don't sit in the sukkah at that time. Maybe Shaila went why is it kosher stuff. I'm not getting into that Shaila, but it's just talk on it. Basically, though, you have to know that the Reuven Shalom is the one that protects you. I'll give you a mushroom. One of my Sfolim elaborate on it, different thing. But I remember Chadisha when I had to take an MRI on the brain. And they put me into this box, into this thing that you lay down, and they just push you into this like a, I don't know what it was, like a cubicle. And you're surrounded by the thing, and you start to breathe. And somehow the breathing comes a little heavier. And my chest hits the top of the thing, where the camera is, or whatever is over there. And all of a sudden you feel everything's coming in on you. And the doctor wouldn't let me off. You gotta take this MRI. I said to him, I just can't do it. I asked the guy with Shasmaisa, if he would have given me a Valium like he was supposed to, then probably I wouldn't have known anything about what I did, and I wouldn't have been mechadish this thing. But he didn't give me the Valium. And I said, I asked him, how long is it going to take the test? So if he would have said 5 minutes, I probably would have been embarrassed not to hold out, and I would have been able to hold out those 5 minutes. But he said 45 minutes. So I said, you got to take me out. I just got a different mindset. And I couldn't go back in. And all of a sudden, everything I was in was closing in on me. I was in a room, I had a bar mitzvah in a hotel that Shabbos, and all of a sudden, I felt I'm choking in the room. We were going to El Yisrael in a couple of weeks. I thought I was going to die by being in an airplane. What am I going to do? I can't, I'm going crazy. And so I started to think about it. I figured, why does a person have claustrophobia? Or even though, which I didn't have as a kid, so I don't know why I got it. But anyway, why do you have claustrophobia? Because I assume that your subconscious is afraid of certain things that your conscious is not necessarily afraid of. So therefore, it happens. At that time, there was a guy, Anderson, that was freed. He was a teacher in the American University in Beirut. He was freed from 5 years of captivity by an Arab insurgents. And how did they keep him for the 5 years? He was tied to to a pipe in the house. I said, I'd go crazy if that ever happened to me. Why would you go crazy? Because let's say a fire came along, you wouldn't have any control. You have no control over yourself. The guy shoved you into this box, into this cylinder. I can't get out without him pulling me out. I can't stay in there. Okay. I said, now let's take it. The guy who's living in a regular house, forgetting about this thing, a regular person. He went outside one day, and a guy right in front of him gets hit by a car. Okay, I'm not crossing the street anymore, because it's dangerous. People get hit by a car. So I'm going to go only on my block, around the whole block, because I didn't have to cross any streets. Okay, I'll live like that. Somebody crashes into a window on the ground floor or into the wall, breaks the wall down, and kills the guy inside the apartment or in the store. I can't go into any store. I can't live on the ground floor because someone might get killed. So I move off to the second floor. So, okay, I'm second floor, I'm standing in my building, and that's why I was able to do this for COVID. I'm stuck in the room, so being stuck in the room, okay. And then I read about a guy with a car jumped, hit something, was going very fast speed, hit a big bump, and flew into the second floor and killed the guy on the second floor. I can't be in the second floor. I gotta go up to the third floor. Then I read about a guy on the third floor that something came out from either from an airplane or a tree fell down on the roof and killed the guy on the third floor. So I can't be on the third floor. What am I going to do? The answer is, I trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Our insecurity makes us most secure in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fact that we can't control ourselves knows we have to rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And once we rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so then what are you worried about? The Rebbeinu Shem is taking care of you. He wants it, he wants it. He doesn't want it, that's up to him. So he can do that anyway, no matter what you're talking about. There's nothing that's going to stop him. There's nothing you can protect yourself against. So you're in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you trust him, and don't be afraid. That's how I did it. And it works. I'm saying, but it took me that time to be able to overcome and to understand myself that I was able to do it afterward by relying on Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what a sukkah is supposed to teach you. That the Rebbeinu Shalom is the one that's in in total control, no other people. This parsha is the parsha of Shem Hazayis. What are you talking about? We learn about it in Tetzaveh, right? Vata Tetzaveh is your brother, and Aaron Achicha, and what should he do? He should become, Vata Tetzaveh is the Yisrael, V'yikra like Hashem Hazayis V'och, because it's Lamor, Lahalas Ne'atomit, and who's going to do this? Aaron Abonov. Aaron is this is before Aaron was even appointed Kohen Gadol. He's appointed Kohen Gadol in the next parsha when it's Tetzaveh V'ata Hakev Elecha Aaron Achicha and rank him and make him Kohen Gadol. But the din of Hadlokas Haneres was even before he was Kohen Gadol. He would have had that. What's Hadlokas Haneres symbolize? Torah. Okay, so Aaron is going to be the Lamed Torah Lamed Yisrael. Obviously he was not Kohen Gadol, but it means the Torah will be in his hands, and he's the one that's going to teach Torah, not the Mam Yisrael. Okay, so why did they come in and tell me now that the Ikar Mitzvah is here? So why'd you mention it over there? Who needed it over there? So Shir Zatzal has a pshat that you need it over there to teach a person who teaches Torah. That he's supposed to teach with clarity, without any shmorim in it. You couldn't even have shmorim that you take out. In Ochis, you can take oil that has a lot of shmorim in it, take out the shmorims, and you have pure oil now. And mimatzib and tastes well, probably tastes good too, right? But for his, I need dafke, the first squeeze, exactly how the squeezes work, I don't know, but the first squeeze, and that's it. You get one drop out of it. That's it, of each olive. You know how many olives you're going to need to make what they needed for one day's worth of hadlokit? But that's what the Torah wants it. What is they teaching you with that? Teaching you that the Rebbe has to give it over with a clearness that I don't have any shmorim in it. Yeah, but I took them out. I explained the Gemara afterward. I made it all to tumult, of giving too many difficulties, and then I took it out, and now it's clear. So he says, don't do that. He says, don't make first of all, this is a lot of times the Rebbe does this. And because he wants a bracha to understand. So he asks a kasha. that the bacha maybe doesn't feel is a kasha. And the bacha says, I don't feel it's a kasha. So the Rebbe starts again. You don't hear what I'm saying? Listen, this is the kasha. You hear, it's shver. Okay. Take your word for it, but I still don't agree with you. But finally, after a few more times he said that, I hear what he's talking about, and now I have the kasha. Okay, I hear that. It's a shverikite. Okay, what do we got for an answer? And he comes along and he gives an answer, and the guy's not satisfied with it. He doesn't feel answers the question completely. There's always a part that's not answered. So what did you create to this person? Doubts where he had no doubts. So obviously in the Gemara itself doesn't make much difference. Except you still just have to teach a klokite in the Gemara. But when it comes to hashkafis, and you muddle up a lot of it, and then you try to clear it up, you don't always clear it up for the guy. And then you leave problems for him. That's what we're not supposed to have. So that lesson is a very important lesson that it had to be by itself. Shouldn't think it has anything to do with the hatlokas, haneres, or anything else, just the concept of Shem Zayizoch. This one is now telling you a mitzvah that you have to give Shem Zayizoch for whatever reason. There was because it came to that locket. Here's just telling you how to make it. So when you make it, okay, that's all, no big deal. Next thing goes with the lechem aponim. I think we discussed this also. Remember about the lechem aponim. Where did the money come from? Lechem aponim. Was it collected for the Mishkan? Like the oil was collected, they donated oil. They donated psomim. So they donated flour, because we need flour. Right? You're going to need for the whole trip that we're going to be in the middle, even though they thought it was a short trip. But after we find out we're here for 40 years, we got to get the flour from somewhere. I don't know where they got it from. That's not the gear to me. But they had to get flour from somewhere. 40 years worth of lechem aponim. We didn't need it for eating, that we have the money. But that doesn't work for the lechem aponim. So l'chayrit, we should have had a donation of that. Or maybe it's considered from the korbanos. The machzah shekel we give for the korbanos includes the lechem aponim. It's also a type of korban. So the raya is from Parshas Vayakel that it says when he's giving out what to do with the money that you collected for the Mishkan is to make the lechem aponim. So it seems it comes from money of the collection in Mishkan. So if that's the case, why can't I donate flour by itself? Because the Ben Shem says like this: Teire, which is the menorah, kedusha, everything else, that comes from the people. If they don't do it, I can't replace them. They shouldn't do it. It's not going to be done. But the lechem aponim, that's a point of the table which is the parnosa really symbolizes the parnosa of Yisrael. You realize I'm the one that gives it. And therefore, whatever you collect, obviously it has to be a collection. It's a serious collection, not that God's going to do it so I don't have to give. It's not the way it works. We have to give as much as we can, whatever we got to give. But it's not going to be enough. Ben Shem says that's up to me. We have a building fund, and the building costs $10 billion, whatever it is there. And we collected as much as people could give, and whatever it is, then we only have $4 million. What am I going to do? Can't build a building. That's the Chumash Shiur. If you want it built, all of a sudden the bank is going to loan you the money. You're going to have, you'll find a couple of people who give you evil loans that are interest-free. Or someone will come along and give you all the millions of dollars that you need, memory of somebody else. Who knows what the reason is. That's pshat that the Rebbeinu Shalom did it for you. When you dedicate yourself to do the right thing, I have to make sure that's sufficient. That's why I can't ask you to cook the flour, because then you have to make it. I ask you to make whatever money you have to buy the flour. and then I make sure that you have enough. The case what I'm talking about before, which I explained about the Kohen and the Ashes Kohen and so on. You have a din Torah here between a Mikalel, he's a Bedish Mitzri, and with the Jew, and he curses. And it's very funny. The Torah calls the name of the mother Shem Imay Shleimis Bas Divri L'Matidon. The only woman in Klal Yisrael that ever had a child from a Mitzri. So obviously the Mevazaha, was it her fault or not? We'll talk about that in a second. Why is it her fault? I think Gemara seems to hold that it's not her fault. But the fact is, whatever she did caused this to happen. So why do we name Shleimus the kids? And there are quite a few people that I know called Shleimus. I don't know really, except that obviously it's a nice name, meaning that she's always gives shalom to everybody, she's at peace with everybody. I always timed the Chesolon in Mitzrayim with 49 Madrigas of Tumeh. What do you mean you want 49? They never murdered. They never went Zana. So it's 47. Why you go down to 49? You shouldn't be there's at least 2 that they didn't do. And I'm sure there's much more that they didn't do. So why you say Lo Mem Teshari Tumah? Said the reason they were the Mem Teshari Tumah was because they did what they thought was right. They didn't have a Messiah anymore, how you're supposed to be Noik. I can't answer it, but I'll give you a mashal of what could have been in her case. She was a pretty girl, and she went past the construction site. And we know what the guys who work at the proskite of those guys, and they start whistling and they start screaming and saying dirty words. And she's mevuzah, and this happens every time she goes by, and she has to go by every day because that's where she works, that's where she lives, or whatever she has to go, and she gets to go by every day. So she thought to herself, maybe I'm going to do a good thing here. I'm going to make myself friendly with them, and then they won't do this to me. And she comes in and she says, "Hi everybody, how you doing?" and all that. Or maybe Taki, they didn't do it to her, or they did do it to her. But one Mitzi said, "Why is she coming along to become friendly with us? Probably she wants me." So she happened to have been Dustin's wife, Shleim's Bastivli. And so what happened? So Dustin, there was no lights. There was no when it's dark in the house. It's dark. You don't know who's there. Can't really see anybody. So he came to pretending to be her husband, and he lived with him. So she didn't live with him because she wanted to live with him. She thought it was her husband, so she lived with him. And she had the baby. The shaila is this kid has no shaykhis to what was the din Torah, what was the matter over there? It says when he went to become part of Shevet Don. The din is if you have if a woman is mizana with a guy, could be with a guy, only one side, so she belongs to Shevet Don. I mean, whatever Shevet she belongs to, it goes to that Shevet, belongs to that Shevet. Normally you have to go, if you have a Shevet of the father and a Shevet of the mother, you go after the Shevet of the father. But when you don't have any father involved, only a mother, so you go after the mother's Shevet. So here he wanted to go after his mother's Shevet, and they threw him out. They refused to do it, so he went for din Torah and he lost. So let's understand why he lost. He lost because he wasn't from Shevet Don. Why not? She's from Shevet Don. No, when she married someone from Shevet Reuven, she gave up her being in Shevet Don. Because now all children that were born through her will go to Shevet Reuven. So therefore, even though she's a conduit, for the Shevet Reuven. So we're talking about the bas of a Kohen that married a Yisrael. So now she lost her Yisrael, her kahuna, because now she's can do it for the Yisrael to have children. So her children are not going to be Kohanim. So therefore, she's a different type of person than that. So therefore, once she's a conduit, she's not from Shevet Dan anymore, and Shevet Reuven she isn't either, because it wasn't his kid. So it's a mitzvah without having any parents on the side, and he can't go over to mother's Shevet. There's no father Shevet, there's no mother Shevet in this case. So that's why he lost the Din Torah. And that explains the thing. So therefore, just one other thing that is from the Rosh Yeshiva. He says they're telling him what to do with the person. They have to kill him. And it says, Rishki Yaakov, first what tells you murder, tells you about you kill a behemoth, you put a mum in a guy, you have to pay. Why is he telling me those things? They didn't ask for that question. We have the Maisa by the guy that collected the wood. So it says that they didn't know what to do with him, so they asked him, told him, you got to kill him. I mean, you got to kill him with skila. They knew they had to kill him. They had to kill him with skila and stuff like that. They say, over there they don't tell you all this thing. Why they tell it over here for? So Shiva says, because the person who's a dayan has to know what he's doing. You're doing a din nefashis. So you have to realize what a din nefashis means. It means if you killed somebody, you're chayiv misa. If you hurt somebody, you're chayiv to pay for it. Same thing with behemoth. You're now going to kill a guy, except that if it's bedin, then you're allowed to do it. But if it's not bedin, then you're chayiv misa for it. So now you have the responsibility of understanding what it is to say for the right, misa. Doesn't make a difference to me. I'm not going to be there. Like when they used to say that a guy in a court martial, when did he get shot? Depended on the mood of the presiding judge, of the guy in charge. If he's in a bad mood, you're dead. If he was in a good mood, no, you're dead. Why? Because it wasn't important. People didn't mean anything to him. So if they didn't mean anything, kill him, big deal, kill him. So they want to tell you what it means to kill somebody. And once you understand that, now you can be Paskin Shaila. Now you can go see a dayan on the thing. If on the other hand you don't feel that, then you resign to the thing because you can't be a dayan. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, Hatzlacha Rabbe. You should only have I guess mention that the mention should give us what do you call it? Nechome for what happened to Klal Yisrael this time. Good Shabbos.